Hello and welcome to Learning New Testament Greek. And today we're going to take the first step in learning New Testament Greek. We're actually going to dive into it and not talk about it. We're going to start learning the alphabet. And I think we should start with the first letter of the alphabet because that's logically where we should begin. And the first letter of the Greek alphabet is alpha. Alpha. And you see I found me some paper with our lines, like you used in kindergarten when you learned your English alphabet or whatever alphabet you learned. You're probably familiar with this. So we're going to use it again in learning Greek. And alpha. Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet. Let's see, it is spelled A-L-P-H-A, alpha. And it's English name of it. But alpha starts, it's a half-tall letter. You either have a full-tall or a half-tall letter. The dotted line here would be the center line. You start at the middle, and you come down, and you loop back, and come back down. There you go. That is a lowercase alpha. Let's do that again. Down, loop up, and back down. It almost looks like those fish you see on the back of trucks. Does that look like that? And sometimes they have Jesus written in the middle, or ichthus. We'll talk about that later. But it almost looks like one of those that ran into something. So start at the middle line, come all the way down, loop up, and come back down. There you go. It's a good alpha. Down, loop back up, and down. Alright, now that's the lowercase alpha. I'm going to show you how to do the uppercase alpha so you're familiar with it, but don't stress over the capital letters just yet. Focus on the lowercase. But here's a capital alpha. You go up, you come down, and you put a cross beam right there in the middle-ish. Yes, it looks exactly like our capital English A. You go up, back down, and a cross beam. So that's the capital alpha, but you really want to focus on the lowercase for now. So we're going to go down, loop up, loop back down, and finish down. And you should write these. One good way to get to good writing your alphabet is just get you a piece of paper, a notebook, and just fill it with letters. So just draw your alphas until it comes naturally. And so down, loop up, and back. And also when you're writing smaller, it's easier than... I'm not used to writing this big with the Greek letters. Anyway, you know the first letter, alpha. Now let's move to the second one, which is beta. 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 Now beta is a nifty letter because it's not only is it a full-length letter, full height letter, but it also starts below the line. So you want to come down here below the line, sort of like an English lowercase g goes below the line. Your G, it goes below the line. Well, beta starts below the line, except it doesn't have this little tail bit. Beta starts and comes up. It comes all the way to the top. Then it loops and loops again. It's a beta. Comes up and loops again. Beta. Now, if you can't remember what sound the letter makes, just say the name and that'll help you. Beta makes a B sound, or alpha makes an A sound. Alpha, alpha. Beta, B. Alpha, A. Alright, let's do a few more betas. Come up, down, and around. Starting at the bottom, coming up. And there we go. There. Just practice going up and looping back and looping back. And that's your lowercase beta. Now for the capital beta. You start at the bottom of the line, You come all the way up, and you loop round, and you loop round. Yes, it looks an awful lot like our capital English B. Because it looks an awful lot like our capital English B. And you just come up, and like so. I guess you could go down, but I'll leave that up to you. Let's do a couple more lowercase, starting below the line and coming up. And loop, and loop. There you go, a beta. One more. Below the line, all the way up, and loop, and loop. There you go, you have your first two letters of the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta. In fact, this is where we get our word alphabet. Alpha, bit. The first two letters of the Greek alphabet. Now you could probably actually trace it back to the Hebrew aleph bet, but in a more immediate sense, we probably took it from the Greek. Alright, so let me get another piece of paper, and we'll go over a couple more letters. Let's see. Here we go. I'm all crooked. At least vaguely straight. There we go. Alright, the next letter we're going to talk about, in fact, the next one in order after beta, is gamma. G-A-M-M-A. Gamma. Some people say gamma, but gamma is how we're going to pronounce it. And it's another letter that dips below the line, except it's only half tall. So you start at the middle line here, and you come in, you go down and loop, and come back up. Almost looks like an English Y, sorta, kinda. But you go in, go all the way down, and loop back up. Do that again, in, all the way down, and loop back up. Go down, loop, and back up. Gamma. And gamma makes a G sound. Gamma. There we go. Now, capital gamma is you start at the bottom and you come all the way up and put a little arm to the right. There you go. And that is a capital gamma. Lowercase, and capital. You see, I'm getting lazy there. I'm not bringing it all the way down, but you'll get the hang of it. You'll get it eventually, and eventually you'll find your own style of handwriting. Because everyone's Greek looks just a little different. And there you go. There's your gammas. So now you know alpha, beta, gamma. Now we're going to talk about delta. Delta. Delta starts around here, somewhere in this top third quarter, and starts and comes up and loops back and turns in this way and loops backwards and brings all the way up. There you go, that's a delta, and it makes a D sound, delta. It almost looks like a big S that you curved all the way too much at the bottom, sorta. That is the lowercase delta. I like deltas. Deltas are fun to draw. Or write, I guess. You are drawing them in a sense, but you're writing, I guess, technically. Now, capital delta, you start at the bottom, and you come up to the top. You come down to the bottom, and you go over back to your starting point. Looks like a big triangle. I think it's a cute triangle. Yeah, all the angles are 30 degrees, something like that. Yeah, it's a big triangle. That is the capital delta. Lowercase, and capital. And one more lowercase, just for good measure. There you go. Alright, so now you know alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Let's do one more today. I can get my paper free and I can find me another piece. I can find me another piece. Oh, there it is. And make sure this is all nice and lined up and straight-ish. Alright. The last letter we're going to look at today is Epsilon. Epsilon. And it sort of looks... Well, let me draw it, then we'll talk about it. It's a half-tall letter, so you start at the halfway mark, and you go out, you come back in, then you give it a little line in the middle. Looks like a C with a line in the middle is what it looks like. And the epsilon is sort of an E sound. Epsilon. Like in pet, And it just looks like a C with a line. Epsilon. C with a line. C with a line. Start, you go back, a big loop, and line. Now the capital epsilon, you can either start at the bottom or the top, whichever suits your fancy. I'm going to start at the bottom. You come over, make a line here. Let me make that a little more bold so you can see it over the guideline, and a line at the bottom. It looks just like a big E. That's capital epsilon. Lowercase and capital. Alright. I guess that arm went up a little, but you can tell what it is. Alright, so what letters have we learned today? We learned alpha. And it's capital, alpha. Did we learn beta? And it's capital. This actually should probably come all the way down, but you understand what it is. What was our next letter? Gamma. And my gamma went off screen, but I assure you it loops down here. Let me unsecure my paper and prove to you it loops. Alright, see? Gamma. What was our next letter? No, we haven't done the capital gamma. Capital gamma. Delta. And our capital delta. And epsilon. And our capital epsilon. Ooh. There you go. There's your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your first 5 Greek letters. Alright, so go learn these, learn how to draw them, be able to write these, and know them better than you know your own name. And then come back and we'll look at the next set of letters next time.